right, y'all. It's time to be honest. It's time to be brutally honest. Because without honesty, you will go forward, move forward, and find yourself, for whatever reason, upset, tired, frustrated, and filled with anxiety because the results that you are hoping for are just not manifesting, right? And this is the case in the indie space. I truly believe that the indie space doesn't exist now. I made that video that the indie space is a barren wasteland or like an abandoned building, and what you find inside is a bunch of scavengers who are just looking for something and they don't even know what it is that they are looking for. I'm still correct. They don't know what they are looking for, right? But today I mostly want to talk about the reason it's dead is because most creators in this space, if not all, because clearly I'm the only one speaking about this, they don't understand the concept of supply and demand. Supply and demand is the foundation of an economy, is the foundation of any industry, right? You need to supply what the consumers demand. Now, what you see on screen right now, I came across this guy randomly yesterday while I was on Twitter, right? I don't know who he is, but I've been, looking at American style comic indie creators, trying to see how do they operate, how do they function in comparison to the indie manga space. Well, there's no difference. They are all equally without direction, and it's rather frustrating. But ultimately, these people don't understand the concept of supply and demand, right? In today's dispensation, today's society, today's generation, right? What is in demand when it comes to sequential art? What's the most in-demand type product in today's generation? It's manga, right? And so when you look at people in the West, aside from France, right, who are trying to do quote unquote manga, they are not supplying a product that is in true demand. And what I mean by that is that a genuine manga consumer who reads Japanese manga from Japan, he is not going to buy a Westerner's manga because their product actually doesn't look like it comes out of Japan. It doesn't have the same art style, or just borrows a few ideas from it, a few elements from it. It doesn't have the same themes and so on. They don't know how to actually execute a manga. They don't follow the standards of how a manga is produced. They don't even bother trying to learn the fundamentals of manga, learning the trinity, learning the format. They don't bother. And then they try to sell to manga consumers in the West, and the manga consumer says, I am not in demand of your half-baked garbage. I'm not in demand of it. Why are you supplying it? And that's the main problem. The main problem is that people in the indie space are supplying a product that is not in demand. And so there isn't an industry because there's no consumer, right, who's going to purchase it, thus making the whole industry collapse. And the best example is you work at Walmart and you notice that Pepsi sells more than Coca-Cola, right? Then all of a sudden your boss says, you know what? Let's stock less Pepsi and stock more Coca-Cola. Then next thing you know, there's less consumers coming into Walmart. Then you ask your boss, what are you doing? This don't make no sense. I mean, the demand was for Pepsi, not Coca-Cola. And then your boss is going to say, don't tell me what to do. Just because that's the case doesn't mean we can't make the same amount of profits to the people who are going to drink the Coke. And it's like, okay, boss, we can, but we're not going to be able to sustain our general operations if the people who were buying the Pepsis, the ratio was so significantly different. We need to go back to that. And the boss says, no, I'm not going to listen to you because I'm in my feelings, because I have magical thinking. That is exactly what's happening in this space. You can't sell to anyone because you're not supplying a demand. Now we're gonna examine mostly the American style comic creators, and we're gonna look at this guy Rebel Comics, what he says here, some of the comments, and look at the supply that he is dishing out. Right? We're gonna look at that product, and we're gonna ask the question: is this particular product actually in demand right now? Because here he is saying with a heavy heart, I won't be doing comics anymore due to financial issues and my current mental state. First of all, I honestly think the financial issues thing is just a scapegoat. I don't know anybody right now who's got it all together financially, bro. I don't know anybody, okay? Honestly, I don't think you're at the verge of homelessness, because I know most people like this are never afraid to say such things, right? Okay, guys, I'm at the verge of homelessness. Like this one French manga artist, he said something similar once, and now he's not homeless anymore, but he's still dragging his feet in finishing his work. But ultimately, I think this financial thing is a scapegoat. And what's wrong with drawing one page a week, bro? That's the bare minimum. That's the bare minimum. If your life is that arduous, that perhaps you work in a mine, a coal mine, for whatever reason, right? That you gotta smash rocks at a prison, right? And you need 5 days to recover, and then on the 6th day, your hands will be fully functional. Yeah, on the 6th day, you can draw one page. Why can't you do that? There's no excuse here. You want to know why this dude is quitting, right? He's quitting because the reception that he had been hoping for throughout the years just has not been what was in his head. The demand for the supply he was dishing out just wasn't what he had hoped. And whose fault is that? It's his fault, right? Why isn't there a questioning of demographics in general, like age groups, generational groups, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, millennials, and look at the general consumption rate of particular media? Why don't you do that type of market research? Why is that hard? Why must it gotta be a nigga from Africa saying these things? Why has it gotta be me? Why nobody else thinking about this? You got other people like 4 years older than me or 40 years older than me, and you still don't know what the hell you're doing. You gotta be kidding me. What's the point of all of this? This is some backwards monkey juice brain action where everybody hoped that things would just magically work out. Then he says, I'll still come in to say hi to people and try to support other indie creators. See, if you still want to come in and say hi, bro, you definitely not homeless. If you got the energy to just say hi, what the heck is that for, bro? Why you want to quit, but you still want to be associated with other comic creators. You want to be associated with people who are still on the grind, but you quit. Last time I checked, a soldier who leaves the battlefield, right? He's a deserter, and you're not allowed to come back to the field. You might shoot us in the back. But this dude want to desert the field and want to come say hi while we still fighting the good fight. You are no longer a soldier. You are a deserter, a betrayer, a traitor. And you have no place here. You want to say hi? Don't you come and talk to us who are still busy cooking. Unacceptable. Then he says, I thank everyone that has shown me love and support. This is just too girly, man. It's too girly. You might find this is a 46-year-old man or something. This is real too girly, bro. What the heck is this? You know, honesty is key. Just say, guys, I thought I was meant to be a comic artist. I believed that it was a God-given thing to me. I thought this is what I had to do, but I was wrong. I actually have no idea what I'm supposed to do with myself. You don't have to say those words in particular in public, but if you're going to tell people that you quit, just say, guys, I quit. I thought comics was my thing, but not really. Now I'm off to find something else, right? Such people who desert the field like this, they are those who never synchronize with their inner man. They never understood that this job, 9 out of 10, will be a job that has no rewards waiting for you at all. When you fight a battle, right? it should not be completely about the victory and the spoils of war. It has to be about the principle. And this is what I said in prior videos, that you got too many people who are unprincipled and undisciplined. A bunch of children, man children, who wanted milk and cookies and compliments and all kinds of love and squishiness for their little drawings. And to that I say, that's disgusting. You're a grown man. A man doesn't need love and support. A man doesn't need milk and cookies, doesn't even need a family. A man needs a mission. A man needs principle. This is why y'all ain't got the stamina I got. You can't do it without milk and cookies. You can't do it without people rubbing your testicles and rubbing your chest, saying, good work, bro. Here's a cookie, bro. I baked you a cake, bro. Let me call grandma so she can make us some pie, bro. Oh, we're so thankful of all your sacrifice, bro. That's pathetic. A man doesn't need external validation. He doesn't. What validates your actions as a man is the principle. You see, this is what happens when you live under cultural Marxism. The ideals of being a man has been stripped away. A man used to be a mystical demigod of a creature, right? It's why there were so much more glorious men back in the day, because they functioned under the principle. Now, there are no principles. Now a man is just an object of labor. An object to sacrifice himself to the jacked up system, to sacrifice himself to some crazy hussy that then gonna take his stuff and his kids. You don't need anything outside of you. You just need the principle. But some of you don't even know which principle it is that you must abide by. That's your own problem. That's your own problem, but let me tell you this. You got the wrong principles, you are going to burn the hell out. You are going to be inconsistent because you're not abiding by the correct principle. Now, let's look at some of these comments over here. So this guy says, finances change as do mental states. You aren't doing comics right now. As an old song states, goodbye doesn't mean forever. Blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Just some girly pep talks, and that's it. Then we see this guy saying, dude, couldn't be more sorry to read this. I hope things get better. Lame. And then what looks to be a real bro over here, the Don. I was like, whoa, okay, that's interesting. The Don out here saying, F that, I'll do whatever you need for free. It might take a while, but no dream of making comics dies on my watch. DM me and let's make a plan. Then Rebel says, I appreciate it, brother. I truly do. And I truly thank you for all the support. Doesn't seem like Rebel is actually interested in that offer. Now we're gonna look at Don, because honestly, I had hoped that Don got the sauce as he displayed it here. We're gonna look at his YouTube channel and we're gonna look at his product. But unfortunately, I tell you right now, Don is not supplying a demand. He's not. He's not supplying a demand at all. You see here at Coffee Comics, there is actually a demand of this caffeine. Now it ain't 5 million people watching this, but nonetheless, it is a bigger demand than the general supply of what's happening or being dished out in the indie space. That is the honest truth. The caffeine on Coffee Comics is supplying a bigger demand than the so-called supply and demand that is being dished out amongst the indie space as a whole. Many so-called consumers in the indie space are not demanding what the Dawn is dishing out, what Rebel is dishing out, what other people are dishing out. They're not demanding it. They're not even demanding comics that much. They're not. Makes you wonder then, as to like, then how do we navigate forward? Man, I said it 100 times how you gonna do it, right? Let's see what this guy says. It doesn't look like you ever made much money from the crowdfunding stuff. That's another thing. So why not just release things as webcomics with a tip jar or build towards compilation novels? Then you can still tell your stories, but on an irregular schedule when you want to. Then he says, because artists don't work for free, but thanks. Oh, there's another fundamental problem. He's a writer. He's not an artist. This is what happens. Thanks to the economy and inflation, you think these artists are still going to charge you the same amount of money that they used to charge 5 years ago? Of course not. This is what I told some of y'all who are writers, that if you have not established a business relationship with an artist perhaps 4 years ago, bruh, you're not going to find an artist that you can trust right now who's going to do the work for you at an affordable price. It's just not going to happen. See, there's nothing stopping Rebel Comics from actually jumping onto YouTube, watching some tutorials, and seeing what he can do to beef up his art skills. There's nothing stopping him. There's nothing stopping him from applying some passable action. There's nothing stopping him to analyze which is the most visually pleasing, appealing style out there that I can mimic to suit my art skills. Because you have flipping comics, not comics, but cartoons like Smiling Friends, right? It's weird and bizarre, but ultimately that's just an example that there's nothing stopping you from actually trying to do things yourself. This is what happens when you're dependent on things outside of yourself. This is what happens. This is what happens when you drag your feet. You think there's a place for you now in the industry? No, there isn't. You think there's a place for you in the industry? There isn't. The industry is dead, right? The industry is filled with demoralization agents, corrupting everything, preaching all kinds of cultural Marxism. It's done. You saw the new Captain America movie. Complete abomination. Now, I did like the action. Best believe I did not pay to go see that movie, but I liked the action. However, it was a piece of trash. The moments that were serious, destroyed by humorous garbage. You know, Marvel formula. Let's see what else he said, what they say. Sorry to hear. I hope things get better. Yada, yada, yada. Pep talks, useless, pathetic. Now let's go see what sort of supply Rebel has been dishing out. Now, other dudes, a lot of dudes in the indie space, been out here relying on crowdfunding, right? Now, I see that this got some manga style influence action, but this is not what a general Viz Media, Naruto, My Hero, Bleach manga consumer would actually purchase, right? It doesn't even matter, because if I look at just looking at the variants, that's another fundamental problem. You are not actually targeting manga consumers. You are targeting random people, I suppose. Most authentic, all-American type comic consumers, they don't really like manga style that much. Nor do they like the manga influence that much. And then when you have all these variant covers, it definitely does turn off a lot of would-be consumers, because somebody who might like this style, like, oh, this is a manga? Okay. Then they come here, they start scrolling down, and the style is different. There's inconsistencies in quality. Look at the anatomy here. Everything kind of yanked up. The hand, all kinds of wiggly. The face here, jacked. Even here, nobody folds their arms like that, bro. This is incorrect, you know? And then we see some interiors, and I can barely see what the hell's going on, bro. Right? We see the interior, and the interior just ain't got the sauce like the cover. And so people then be like, nah, no thanks, I'm skipping this. Yeah, this is unacceptable in terms of art quality. I would not even consider this D rank. Unfortunately, this is E rank. This is E rank. This is somebody, whatever artist that Rebel hired to do this, dude, you got ripped off. This is not how you execute manga, right? This is not how you do it. This is E rank. This is not even D rank. The rendering, all kinds of jacked. The famous Akira influence here. Now, of course, this was never going to go anywhere. I'm sorry, man, but this was never going to go anywhere because there is no understanding of what you're actually supplying. There is no care of the actual demand from the consumers. There's no care. You know, you don't care. So why should they care about what you supplying? I mean, come on now. And then people gonna be like, I'm mean, I'm terrible, I'm horrible, and this and that. No, you're just a sissy, okay? You can't handle this caffeine. You're just a loser, bro. You're just a loser. Out here, I quit because I can't pay niggas. I can't pay artists, bro. You are paying for some bullish. This guy should be charging $5 a page with this level of skill. This is a $5 page. And you telling me you can't pay $5? If this guy was charging you $30 a page, you got ripped off. But this is what happens when you just want to do things, right? And not actually want to understand how things are meant to be done. Their indie space is doomed. Even Comicsgate. Comicsgate, run by Ethan Van Sciver. That dude is not supplying comics. He's not supplying Cyberfrog. He's supplying drama. He's supplying disses to Eric July. There is a bigger demand for drama-filled garbage like Ethan Van Sciver's stuff than actual comic books now. That is the reality. And so, even here, even me, now I know what I do and say ain't garbage, right? But ultimately, the demand from me is not really my product. The ultimate product that is in demand that comes from me is what I say, right? It is my worldviews and deconstructions of different subjects. You see, that is the most in-demand product right now in the indie space. It's not so much so the comics. However, if you do not have a comic and you want to do what I do, still people will not take you seriously. I got 3 books right now. 3 books, link in the description box, right? Digital versions, right? I got 3 books. I finished them 3 books all less than 2 years. Less than 2 years, I got 3 books out. By the end of the year, I most likely have book 4. You see, you can't talk the way I do as much as I do if you ain't got no product. You see, you just can't. So you can try to just yap it out, but without product, you ain't gonna get no support. You ain't gonna get no Patreon support, right? You have to supply an actual demand. Now, the caffeine was a demand that people's inner men were looking for. You were looking for it. Nobody was saying what I was saying. You had grievances in your heart that you wanted to express, but you knew the hunchbacks would silence you. You wanted to find other people who would agree with the things I say, but you did not trust them. Along I came, and I said it. And you're like, he's right. This is exactly how I've been feeling all along. Subscribe. I'm going to Patreon. I'm going to get some more of this caffeine. That's the world we live in now. I have given everyone the answers. And still, mother effers are out here doing the wrong thing. Now, a roast is coming. A roast is coming for somebody. But specifically, I'm going to do it on Patreon. Now, those who watched yesterday's Patreon video, they know who about to be roasted. I ain't holding back anymore. And nigga, if you get offended, bruh, I don't care anymore, bro. You effed up. So screw you. Anyways, let's see some more stuff from what he shared. Let's see all kinds of random things, and that's the problem right there. The problem is all of this just looks random. It doesn't look coordinated. It doesn't look streamlined. It doesn't look cohesive. It's just everywhere.
That's the problem. It just looks random. What are you trying to say? What is this Rogue, the American Dream? What does it stand for? I'm not going to read the synopsis over here. I'm not even going to watch the trailer, but I'm not going to watch it because I've seen the interiors right now, and it's like, nah, I'm not even interested. But ultimately, if you wanted to catch people's eye, consistency and cohesive ways of posting would have helped. But oh well, Rebel Comics dropped the ball. Now let's go to Rob Liefeld. We all know Rob Liefeld, right? He's the guy who created Deadpool. Now, unfortunately, I would have to say that Rob is a hunchback, right? He's a total hunchback, and I don't care that he created Deadpool. It's like, bro, you just been milking it, and I hate Deadpool. You allowed that sack of garbage, Ryan Reynolds, to play as Deadpool and completely turned it into just a piece of trash, you know? Like, Deadpool just is a dead guy in the pool at this point, right? So here's something he said 3 days ago. He said, all we want are great comics, good films, and cool television. That's it. Then my question was, why the F aren't you doing something about it? Why aren't you doing anything about it, bro? You're Rob Liefeld. Why don't you get to work instead of crying out here, we just want great stuff? What makes something great? This is one of those so-called great people who are pioneers of the indie space back in the 90s, right? After they left Marvel and DC, right? He's one of those people, one of the Jim Lee squad members. And it's like, okay, do you know what made things great at all? Do you know what makes things great at all anyway, Rob Liefeld? It doesn't look like you do. Now, Rob Liefeld out here creating new comics, apparently. Now, my question is he actually supplying a particular demand? My answer is no. No, he's not. And we're going to look at it. Let's look at some of the comments here. So I don't know who this is, but this guy's saying, I'm doing my part. Check out my fourth book, Hellzone, funding now on Indiegogo. See, everybody in the American style comic book indie community, y'all just keep shooting yourselves in the sack, bro. This crowdfunding BS just makes no sense. It's what always gets you down. You're not, if Jim Lee made his own comic, obviously that's Jim Lee. He would make like $5 million in 24 hours. But a lot of you are not Jim Lee, and you never will be. Right? Now, I come to this website, like, what the heck is going on here? Ink Slayer Entertainment? So this is like a publisher of different comics. Okay, my first question is, now, because this is American style stuff, you never know if this is a variant cover or not. So you never know even that what you see in the cover is what you're going to see on the inside, which turns people like me right the hell off. And most people who have been consuming manga turned off as well, because if the cover looks different to the interior, I ain't reading it. Now, I look at this, it reminds me of some Ratchet and Clank, Jack and Dexter type thing. My question is, who's this for? Who's this for? My second question is this particular style at all in demand? Is it in demand? Why are you supplying a product people are not demanding? Why? I mean, look at the logo. All kinds of busted, bro. This logo busted, and it doesn't stand out. And you put it way up there at the top. I can tell why you did it. You didn't want the logo to be in front of whatever this is. Some spaceship, looks like a Nike shoe or something. Whatever it is. But ultimately, it's like, bruh, this thing was supposed to be right here. It doesn't matter if it's in front of the spaceship, okay? Something tells me this person don't understand gutters like that. Doesn't understand where the cutoff is going to be and so on. But whatever, my main question is there a demand for this particular product? You see the polish of this product, you see the rendering of this product, you see the style of this product. Is there a demand for it? Yes or no? I'm telling you right the hell now, there ain't no demand for it. And he can say, well, I made 15 sales, I made 200 sales. I didn't know 200 sales can pay your rent. I didn't know 200 sales can sustain your motivation to keep going, because at the end of the day, y'all ain't operating on principle. Principle's my motivation. Principle is my fuel. This ain't by principle. This is somebody who could end up like Rebel Comics and say, I'm hanging it up, I didn't sell enough, and I don't know why. I'm telling you why. Because there isn't a demand for this type of product. There isn't. Okay? You people keep shooting yourselves in the foot, right? And you out here posting under people. You got your blue check mark as if it does anything at this point. It doesn't do anything. We've all been scammed. We got robbed by flipping Elon Musk, bro. This is what I said 2-3 years ago. I said it's gonna be pay to play, pay to win, pay to get up there. You're not gonna earn your way to the top anymore. You gotta pay your way to the top. You got a blue check mark, you paying for extra eyes on your product, but it's still not the actual amount of eyes that should be seen, especially, let's look at how many. Look at that. He's got 3,599 followers. And yet somehow only 500 people saw it. How is that possible? But he's paying $15 a month. How's that possible? Why are you still paying for it? Why are you still paying for it? This is what I'm talking about. Self-imposed psyops. Okay? Self-imposed genjutsu. Elon Musk said, hey, yo, man, you gonna pay me this money so people can see your stuff. There is evidence that people don't see your stuff, but you're still paying the money. And then you say, oh, things will be fine. How? Based on what? Based on what? How are they going to be fine? Based on what? So this guy asks a very legitimate question, right? He says, so why don't you and others create more avenues for independent creatives? I mean, I don't get it. Yeah. There's so much wealth now between all of the incredible artists and actors and storytellers that we don't need big companies anymore. Do you know how many great stories that were never told that got passed on? Now's the chance to change the structure. Rob replied to this, actually. He did. And you're going to see what he said. Then this guy says, dude, this is Twitter. People can't take an opinion or feeling because you feel it. It's like you just have to agree with theirs or you're pariah for speaking your mind. Don't worry about the pudends commenting on your question. It's truly their wasted energy. Okay, now, to some extent, this guy kind of right, but pretty demoralizing. At the end of the day, it's a legitimate question that he had. There was no reason to give a demoralizing answer. This guy, King Cog, says, haha, Rob created one of the biggest independent comic book companies in history. We're talking about now, you sack of garbage. If I agree with what you said is irrelevant, you're entitled to have a way. You know what? Never mind. They don't get it. He created Image Comics. Image Comics has been compromised. You can't just have one corporation such as Image Comics, because that is just a hub for those who have big names. Ryan Oatley, Jason Fabog, all these other old school artists. It's not for the little man who has an idea. It's not for them. There should be different companies, but hey, that's not going to happen. So let me get out of here because the answers are worthless. But people are so used to, I suppose, agreeing with so-called superstars. Rob saying this is the most retarded thing in the world. It's like, why aren't you doing it then? So he answered the guy saying, I currently employ a dozen folks. I'm doing my part. No, you're not, bro. What is your part? And is your part supplying an actual demand? No. The guy responded, everything is taken personal these days. I'm speaking out of respect of what you went through in Marvel. It's not an attack on your character. It's a genuine question. Thank you. What you said was not only personal, but fudge off, man. Fudge off. Dude expecting you. Oh no, they just rubbing the testicles of Rob Liefeld. Yeah, Rob, no, you're not doing anything, bro. Just shut the F up at this point. You know what? Just keep doing what you're doing. Rob Liefeld at this point just a clown anyways. Always has been, in my opinion. Art always looked kind of yanked. Always, right? It just got popular for the wrong reasons. It was a meme cow. Rob Liefeld's legit a meme cow in the comic industry. Like, come on, right? Now he out here promoting Last Blood 1 and 2. I suppose it's one of the things he's working on with the people he employed. Now, I ask you this. Yes, the art here is decent. I mean, it's good for the style that it uses, American style and whatnot, but that's not the problem, right? The problem is this supplying a demand? Yes or no? Is it supplying a demand? The answer is no. These types of comics are not in demand. These types of comics, this 90s style artwork, this is not in demand now. No, it's not. So who the hell is he selling it to? 2,000 views. This got 2,000 views. When he's actually sharing a product, no one cares. When he's actually sharing a complaint and being a sissy, we want more stuff, I don't want to work, we just want more stuff, it gets 37,000 views. You see how rigged this system is? It's completely rigged. Now, let's go to the Don. Now, I reached out to Don, right? I said, hey man, I want to be featured on your YouTube channel. We got to talk about things. Maybe I'm going to be too controversial for Don now that I made this video. Maybe Hunchbacks are going to tell him, no, Don, don't talk to that nigger. He's totally bad news and whatnot. Okay, whatever, Don, but no one is exempt from my caffeine. Now, the only reason I saved this picture here is for what Don says right here. So he says, my pinup for the Universals Initiative. This is a title, this title is a massive collaborative work with blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. 64 pages, regular edition, 100 pages, deluxe, 100% complete at launch. You see this part right here? This is the bullish, the Omega bullish that destroyed the crowdfunding people, I suppose. Now, first of all, what do you mean 64 pages regular edition? And the extra couple of pages that result in 100 pages, is it covers? Huh? Is it just covers? Is it other pinups? And, you know, is it extra story? Or is it just extra fluff? Because this is what happens. This is, you know, this is some Indian Chinese style way to scam people, bro. That's what it feels like. I feel like I'm being scammed just reading it. 64 pages regular edition, 100 pages deluxe. Right? Okay, those extra couple of pages, bro. Is it extra pages of story? Because if it's extra pages of story, why don't you just compile it all in one? Or why don't you equally divide the product as to book 1 and 2? Why not? Something's off. But then again, this part here, 100% completion at launch, which tells me that 9 out of 10, there have been many things launched, but not complete. You know, like the video game industry. They won't charge you $70 for a game that ain't even finished. They didn't even do quality control, no quality check, no demos released because they just want to dish it out. Because they knew mother suckers are just going to buy it. Because they know mother suckers are just hunchbacks today. They just want dopamine. They just want disposable things. They just want candy. Eat. Open the wrapper, suck it, and then throw it in the bin. Rinse, repeat all the time. I do not operate like this. But you know what? No one cares the fact that I operate accordingly. You see, it's not about operating accordingly. But guess what? If you operate, right, in a dysfunctional way, well, you get dysfunctional results. I operate in a good way, and I do get good results, but I'm not getting those Omega results because I've been shadow banned and I'm the boogeyman, right? Shadow ban plus being the boogeyman of the indie space is not going to get you so many results. But there are people who are sucking the testicles, right, of the hunchbacks, playing as their friends, not holding the hunchbacks accountable. They ain't got much product like me, and the product that they released, they didn't sell more than me at this point. At this point, I don't want to even bring names, right? I'm going to bring them names, though, on Patreon. All you mother suckers who thought you could be friends with the indie space consumer, who are nothing but hateful hunchbacks, that you thought by being nice and playing innocent with them, You thought you would get more sales than me? Well, it didn't happen now, did it? Where are you now? In the gutter, begging mother suckers to buy your ish, right? Disillusioned with yourself, wondering, what happened? How could this be? Blah, blah, blah. Let me tell you how the indie space could be saved. Because I'm telling you right now, it's in hell. If it were ever to be saved, first of all, you need me. Secondly, you need an artist that's better than me skill-wise, right? And you need an artist who has a product, more than one, that released in the last 6 months, right? And you need an artist that's actually supplying and demand. That's the only way that we could turn things around. There are artists that are obviously better than me in this space, but number one, they don't have a completed product. And I'm not talking about a chapter, F your chapters. I'm talking about a book, volume 1, 8 chapters compiled into one book. You ain't got that, don't talk to me. Shut the F up. I would need somebody who got 2 of these books. You got 2 volumes and you actually creating a work that is in demand. You're not creating what looks like this. I don't even know what I'm looking at here. I'm sorry, Don, but I don't get it. I don't get it, bro. Something looks off over here, man. Is that a giant titan that the female Thor is ripping into? Right? The rendering here is just too unpolished. It's yanked, bro. It's totally yanked. So absolutely not. I'm not going to support this. I'm not going to support this. You got people who are DC consumers for years, and then all of a sudden here comes the indie space, and then people like Don won't dish this out as a marketing scheme. That's like me trying to advertise Victoria's Secret underwear using some has-been degenerate hussy that's been working at the damn gas station for the last 50 years. You think people want to buy Victoria's Secret underwear? When I have a 47-year-old gas station raggedy hussy marketing that thing for me? No. This is bad optics. This is common sense. Why in the name of F is nobody using common sense? Listen to me. The only way to fix this, you need me. And you need somebody who got 2 books with better art than me, and then he better supplying a product that's actually in demand. Now, manga is the thing that is in demand the most. You know what I'm saying? It is. So I'm gonna need a manga artist in the West who's better than me, who got 2 books and supplying that demand. Now, I'm gonna give you an example. A nice quick example with Manga Plus creators. Now, we spoke to the creator of Mr. First Place, the Frenchman. We spoke to him, right? Here he is, V, right? I did a review on this and I told you why he is #1. And why is he #1? Because he didn't realize that he was supplying a particular demand. What is that particular demand? Familiarity. In the manga space, what people want is something familiar to past glorious works. And that's what V provided. V provided that so much so that he's #1 even amongst the popular manga in the last 7 days. So much so, he is higher than Shifting Eyes. Okay, so here is V, right? We went through it and we assessed why it's #1. It's because it achieved the first ingredient from the MANAA ingredients. Now, the mere fact that you have somebody like myself who's gonna break everything down for you, and there's still gonna be the lot of you who's still gonna say I'm lying or whatever, yada, yada, yada. Yet somebody who subconsciously did what I talk about is #1. I don't know what to tell you anymore. But ultimately, V achieved familiarity with his Bleach-like art style. A lot of people will never forget the big 3, Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, and Dragon Ball, I suppose. They'll never forget it because those works had such a positive impact in people's lives. Things that came after Naruto and Bleach, like Black Clover, My Soccer Academia, Jujutsu Kaisen, they just didn't hit the spot right at all because those works were rip-offs, right? And they didn't embody actual hopeful, relatable messages that people could actually practically live by, unlike Naruto, Bleach, and so on. And that has to do with a change of dispensation a little bit, but ultimately that's the author's fault for not actually, assessing reality and what the people are actually demanding. Jujutsu Kaisen and My Hero Academia are just a bunch of hunchback creators who wanted to do something popular because they were that inspired by the idea. And so they destroyed everything else, neglecting every other ingredient. Now, when we look at Shifting Eyes, it has objectively way better art than V, but it's at third place. Shifting Eyes has 1.3 million fake views on Manga Plus creators, and I hate seeing people who post here celebrate that they got like 400,000 views. No, dude, you didn't. Stop. You look like a retard celebrating that. These views are not real. How you can't have 1.5 million views, bruh, and then you tell me something that's published like on Manga Plus, the Japanese version, right, that it's gonna be higher than Chainsaw Man. You can't tell me that. That doesn't make any effing sense. Okay? Just stop being an idiot. But ultimately, I show y'all the examples. I show y'all that there is a way to figure out how to succeed. It's all about supply and demand. There is a demand for something like the big three. V achieved it, strongly so. Even his storytelling is a resemblance of a combination of Naruto and Berserk, right? In terms of the relatability, V achieved all of these 4 ingredients, and that's why he's number 1. Shifting Eyes, I try to read it and I'm like, man, this just dopamine right here. It just reminded me of DD Mark. It's just straight up dopamine. It's just good art and that's it. Everything else, I didn't get it. I was like, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say? What are you trying to do? It's just booga wooga wooga stuff. Man, it was just demoralizing looking at it ultimately, right? But at the end of the day, I want everybody who is celebrating that they got 200,000 or 1.5 million views. Do you have 1.5 million dollars? Yes or no? No, you don't? Oh, I guess you're still stuck in the basement, huh? I guess you still where exactly you are. Did they give you at least $5,000? No? So you just drove traffic for Manga Plus creators to make more money from your traffic, right? Is that the case? Because first of all, ask yourself this. If you are like V has literally maybe 100 followers on Instagram, right? How is it possible that he generated 200,000 views? That's not possible. And that same thing goes for everybody else here. Should know by now that this website's a damn scam, right? But anyway, this entire indie space is in shambles and completely irredeemable unless you do what I say. But nobody's gonna do what I say. I am so over the fact that we can celebrate that, yay, I finished my book like the way I did last week. And you know what? I don't need to celebrate it, at least in the public. I don't need to tell anyone that I finished anything at this point. Because I live by the principle. I have proven, right? I've proven that I can finish. I do meet my own deadlines. I even finish before the deadline, and I keep on improving. I have proven this. I have nothing else to prove anymore. But it is severely draining to constantly try and get the attention of dumb people or people who actually hate you. Like this indie space, there's a lot of eyes, hateful eyes, wandering around, right? A lot of hateful people who just look and watch your stuff out of hate. They don't really want to support. They don't even agree with you, but they just love what you say sometimes. Now, I know them hunchbacks love what I say because nobody delivering the caffeine like me, right? But it's out of hatred. It's out of hatred. You don't actually gain anything from hate. You don't. But you don't gain anything from toxic positivity either. You don't. And this is why we're now at Dawn. Ronan Joe. I guess that's his real name, but whatever. Let's just call him Joe. Okay, so here's Joe's channel, right? So you can see the inconsistencies in viewership, but he has more subscribers than me. Now, why is there an inconsistency in viewership? Because he's not supplying a demand. That's why. Do you get it now? There are too many people I see on Twitter who want to talk straight up guck, right? You want to talk smack on Twitter because I suppose maybe you're conscious of it or not, but maybe you feel there is more traction when I talk smack on Twitter than when I post my work. But the problem is, with consistently talking smack, all you become in the end is a smack talker. In the long term, you shoot yourself in the foot. Now, if you're going to be like Don or other people who are going to post their stuff on Twitter consistently, right? If you want to continue to post what is not in demand, you're still shooting yourself in the foot. This is the key reason there is tremendous failure in this indie space. No one is supplying a demand. But actually, here's the funny part. They actually are supplying and they are not supplying. What you have is the indie space is supplying too much of garbage and not supplying enough of substance. And I'm not just saying the art could be garbage. I'm just in general, the idea of the comic, the style of it and whatnot, it's just not in demand. There is an oversupply of what people don't want and an undersupply of what people want. Now, those who actually might be interested in reading indie work, they notice that the supply game is really bad. When they find an artist that has something they're looking for, they undersupply, meaning there is no consistency in release dates. Perfect example is that girl, Irene, right? She out here taking 5-6 years to do 3 chapters. What kind of donkey brain is that? That doesn't make any sense. They keep shooting themselves they keep shooting themselves in the foot. Also, when you assess Don's channel, what is the key message of the channel? What is it about? Well, you see that it's mostly about comic books, but then there's some rock concerts, you know? There does not seem to be enough consistency, and a lack of consistency in what you're dishing out does not build trust. Now, there's consistency in live streams, but what's he talking about? He be reviewing the Supermans and Batman comics and so on. Is there a huge demand for that? Is there? The answer is no. Now, of course, you can do whatever you want, but don't act as if what you have currently is all that you wanted to have. Don't pretend you're satisfied with the position that you're in, because you're not. You know? Am I satisfied with the position I'm in? I've been shadow banned, man. I've been cast aside as the boogeyman. Of course I'm not satisfied, but I live in reality. It is what it is. That's life for you. It's better than nothing than what I got. Right? I got something. It's a return of investment. Nonetheless, I am properly using the returns and so on. I can't really complain because I am hated for the wrong reasons. I am shadow banned for the wrong reasons. I am not where I am or where I could be for the wrong reasons. Because of retards, demoralization agents, and of course, the mere fact that this is all by design. Cultural Marxist world that we live in. All I want to say
is that if you are not getting all kinds of returns of investment, and of course that in particular is subjective in this day and age. It's subjective. Let me just say this then. In the indie space, none of us are going to get numbers that reach 1,000. We're never going to do it. It's never going to happen. I don't know any indie comic guy that has 1,000 people on Patreon. I don't know a single person. We're never going to reach that, and we're never going to reach a consistency in sales of 1,000 books were sold each time. It's never going to happen because the general consumer has a negative bias about the indie space, that the indie space does not supply what we demand. If they do, they don't supply it on time. And so they take their wallet elsewhere. This is where we are, making this place a graveyard. It's a graveyard. Honestly, it's a flipping graveyard. Now, nobody gonna say what I'm saying. You see, Don was telling Rebel Comics that, nah, we need to get to work. We can do it. What do you mean by that? We can do it and achieve what? What do you hope to achieve? What is there to achieve in a graveyard, bro? You see, for me, at least I'm not just in the ground, man. I built a nice little tomb. You see, nice tomb, all kinds of decorated. And there's a door over there. And I don't just have a wooden casket. I got one of the pharaoh's casket, what is it called? The sarcophagus? Is it the sarcophagus? Isn't the sarcophagus something in your throat? Whatever it is, the Egyptian casket. That's what I got. After all, I am in the indie space. You are here, you going down, right? But you can rise. There is a way to rise. It's not all doom and gloom, but it kind of is, because mother effers don't want to listen to me. Don't want to listen to me. You're not going to listen to me. You're going to die in the grave, bro. That's all there is to it. But there's a way to change, but no one's going to do it because I said it. So whatever. I don't care anymore. At this point, it does feel like I've said everything I've ever needed to say. The indie space is doomed. It's dead. And now, what I supply will be exclusive. It will have to be exclusive, because I cannot keep proving myself correct all the time, only for mother effers to just disagree and do their own thing and still end up in the damn grave. Don't deserve this caffeine. Don't deserve this caffeine. I have given the secrets. It's all about supply and demand. That is the foundation. You're not supplying what people are demanding. You're just doing your own thing. You're just drawing whatever you want, however you want it. And then the little 5 people that click the like button and say and rub your chest and say, oh, this is so cool. You think that's 5 million people. And even if it was, it's not $5 million. You see, at least on Patreon, there's an actual return of investment for me dishing out the caffeine there. The people who are there understand what they are receiving. The people who are on my Patreon are people who have a demand of what I supply. They demand the caffeine, and so they pay for it. That's how it works. But you got people out here drawing things to supply a demand, their own personal demand. And my question is, are you going to buy your own books? Are you going to buy your own books? Because you have to structure what you like in the confines of what other people demand. Do you even know what type of storyteller you are? What genre you fall under in? You see, these things are not even considered, man. I'm tired of correcting people, man. I don't want to do it anymore. You don't listen. You don't listen. So, yo, why should we listen to you? Fine, don't. Just stay in your damn garage, bro. Stay in your garage. Stay in the basement. Stay in the grave, bro. Stay in the grave. Make sure to
associate with me only in the dead of night because you can't do it publicly. And let's see where it gets you, still having the brownie points of those retards that you're so afraid of. Let's see where it's gonna get you. Oh man, you're toning this, you're toning that. Stop being a damn sissy, you flippin' midget. Like, good grief. Bunch of soy boys up in here. You know, I wanted us to watch a little bit of Don stuff, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Don, you watch this, you're not supplying a demand, bro. You want to argue and say, oh, I'm supplying a particular demand. Well, is it working for you? Is there engagement? Is there return of investment? Oh, yeah, there is. Okay, fine, whatever. I'm not going to argue anymore, man. I'm tired. The roast will happen on Patreon with that one artist. Patreon members know who it is. But I honestly feel like I don't want anything to do with this indie space. Like because I live by the principle only, I can literally just draw all my books and never release them, and I'll be okay with it. And then make sure to tell people at my funeral that you better bury me with these books. You better bury me with these books. The world does not deserve what I've created. They don't deserve to know. They don't deserve to see. So bury me with the stuff I did. Y'all didn't care anyway, so I'll take it to the ground. I'll take it with me. This is what happens when you can live by the principle. At the end of the day, so many people trying to appeal to the public space to be people's friends, and you get nothing in return. No. One thing's for sure, I will continue to release the caffeine, but obviously on Patreon, because there people are paying for that supply. I'm just shocked sometimes. I've seen other Patreon people, man, they be charging $10, $15 for nothing. People be paying. And I'm charged, all my ish is under $10. Even Coffee TV is gonna be $6. To get access to Coffee TV, which gonna have all kinds of new cool things, $6 a month. And they're gonna be mother suckers who don't wanna, but you're gonna pay $15 a month to some dude not saying anything? That is just profoundly bizarre, man. That is just so bizarre, but whatever. I legitimately hate the indie space. It is a massive graveyard, and so many people are dishonest. I don't wanna impress mother effers anymore. For what? I think I've done all that I can. You know, I got nothing else to prove. Nothing else to prove. You know, so I will just share the caffeine on Patreon. Obviously, I'll put some trailers here for Coffee TV, but nah, man. Nah, this space is just it's just a den of liars at this point, man. I'm done.